Hello everyone and welcome to season 1 episode 11 of Avico Economic Forum, a student panel discussion. I'm Akash Subramanian, your host for today, and we have a very new topic which has been discussed elaborately about the Indian economy, which is the public-private partnership model. Now, what is this? Let us look into it. We have two very good panelists with us today. We have, of course, Mr. Bharat Kulkarni. He has been a part of many sessions before. He is pursuing his chartered accountancy and he's an avid economic and finance reader. We also have a new speaker today, Mr. Mridul Gupta, who is pursuing his MBA Tech from NMIMS Shirpur, and he is a resident of Faridabad. Hello, speakers.
Hello, Akash. Thanks for
Hello.
such a wonderful introduction.
Hello, Akash.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So let us start with our discussion today. The first question goes for you, Mridul. So for
Yes.
our audience, could you just briefly explain what a public-private partnership is and what would this partnership entail? What is there for the government? What is there for the private entity here? Could you explain this briefly?
So, public-private partnership is an agreement between a public, that is government entity, and a private entity, which is usually entered into with the purpose of providing public goods and or services for an agreed time period, like short term or long term time period. Under the PPP model, each entity has a clearly defined set of roles and responsibilities. The private entity is selected on the basis of an open competitive bidding, like the bidding is done by the government, and anyone who can afford can bid in that meeting. Its compensation is decided on the basis of its performance in relation of project completion and quality of the service, which is benchmarked with respect to certain predefined standards. So some of the features of PPP, public-private partnership, are the private entity is responsible for completing the project within the specified time period. Hence, the private entity assumes a certain portion of the risk associated with the project. The private entity may be allowed to recover partially or fully the cost of the project through user charges or other revenues, or it may be paid by the public entity.
Absolutely. So you have defined the concept of PPP very well. You have given examples. We have seen many examples in Mumbai itself. We have seen the metro construction being a public-private partnership. We can see the new Navi Mumbai airport coming up, which is also a PPP model. So though there is so much preference given in this economy for PPP, it was not the case from beforehand. So Varad, now, of course, PPP model has been discussed as since 1991, once LPG has come into existence, right?
Yeah.
So since then, but not many have believed that PPP would be a successful model for India. Why do you think people used to say that, and do you think it is still relevant today?
Yeah. So to address your question, Akash, the most important thing which we have to consider while talking about PPP in India is that the level of education, the level of skill that our labor force has.
Hmm.
Then, we have to consider the problems such as basic wage rate, which is also very important. The problem with private sector entering into underdeveloped or yet developing economies is that private sector tries to maximize the profits by the way of, which is very obvious, by cutting their costs.
Hmm.
And if this model takes place in the underdeveloped or developing economy, the labor force gets underpaid, or some vendors get overpaid, and the capitalism, which is not very good for the for these kind of economies, gets promoted somewhere. As you told us about the LPG model, which was introduced in 1991, although it boosted the Indian economy to a great extent, we would say, in the sense that we could get foreign investments. Then we could allow foreign participants to directly invest into the Indian projects. We got foreign portfolio investments also, which could uh, you know uh, invest their money into the stocks, or financial assets of Indian businesses. However, if you observe the government sector which is operating mostly operates in the areas such as infrastructure, uh, global public goods such as vaccine, which is
Mhm.
currently a hot topic.
Absolutely.
Then it operates in the areas such as the products which are crucial for the sustainability of the society, such as railways. In 1991, we had airlines also as one of the crucial service. We have for that government of India set up Air India, Indian Airlines,
Mhm.
right? And the problem happens when the labor force gets underpaid, because the basic objective of government, that is to improve the standard of living of the people,
Mhm.
gets hurt by the public private partnership somehow, because the private players always try to maximize their profit, as I
Absolutely.
already said, right? So
Yes.
this is one of the con, I would say, of private PPP model rather.
Mhm.
But there are some benefits also, that as you said, metro work in Mumbai, which is I won't say it is getting over too quickly, but then it somehow improves the quality of the work. It improves the service part of the sale, that is post sale. You can expect better service than government sector, right?
Absolutely.
So there are some pros, some cons, then this somehow is a part of life. So I guess in
This is.
our country we get hurt somehow by a PPP.
Yes, probably. Efficiency and we could say the time response is something that we look forward into PPP, which is
Yeah,
still into doubt when, especially when government comes in, because there's often not many agreements that might take place between government and private, which might be the case. But of course, it's still fresh waters, and there are so many opportunities to look forward to for the government. Absolutely.
definitely.
Thank you so much, Varad. Mridul, there have been instances where the public entity has been redefining a PPP model before if it was only a public organization or a public initiative. Now, private players have been coming in. So, does private inclusion guarantee just efficiency and quality of these constructions, or does the government have some more benefits in this?
So, Akash, now some of the instances where public entity has been redefined into the PPP model, I can say, are the second Vivekanand Bridge, which was built in September 2002. Well, it was being constructed by the government, but it was given to the private sector just because it was got delaying and delaying. So the main thing was to do the work in time.
Mhm.
So to complete the work, there has been the cost of the project was INR 640 crores.
All right.
So the construction and the period of time was project is 30 years. So it was an example of long term investment where the government and private sector came together. And as Varad has already mentioned, the MRTS, that is Mumbai Railway metros have also been a good success of the PPP model. And
Mhm.
some more example can be the underground car parking system in Kolkata, West Bengal, that was executed in April 2007. It's always been a hustle in the case of with the most of the inner city areas, like in Delhi, Mumbai. There will always so the Kolkata Municipal Corporation decided to utilize the rights to underground space and undertake the parking project as public-private partnership
Mhm.
to build, own, operate, and transfer basics for 20 years. So it was made for 20 years of time period.
So I would like
Right.
to add few points here. As you said, Akash, what government could expect more from public-private partnership other than quality? I generally refer government as a corporate entity. The
Mhm.
reason being, the government also has to manage all its income, expenses, and to manage the country with the view to increase the standard of living of society, which is just different than the objective of corporates, that is to earn profit.
Mhm. Right.
So Barring this one difference, both of them, private and public entities, do exactly the same job. This is
That
what
is
I
right.
think. This is just a school of thought, and it has so many exceptions, assumptions. But somehow we have to understand that every entity, every being on this planet has to manage their own finances. And in case of government, they have to manage the finances of the country, right?
That's right.
So the basic objective, as you said, is to improve the efficiency, quality, of the project. But barring that, one more thing which government expects from public-private partnership is that we, understand is that raising of funds,
Mhm.
which is very crucial for the economy in the sense that, as we already know, we have been hit by a pandemic, and for a country like India, where unorganized sector uh,
Mhm.
is covering a large portion of our labor force, government has to take several measures, such as they had to increase subsidies. Then,
Mhm.
lately we have seen government had proposed to take back minimum support price by farmers,
Correct.
which is a part of government managing its own finances. In times of COVID-19, government tried to distribute subsidies, distribute bailout packages, but now what has happened is that government is also in need of finances. If you see a government in this recent budget, the slab rates were not changed
Mhm.
because taxes, as I have mentioned in our previous sessions, are irreversible.
Right.
Uh, Other fiscal measures, monetary measures can be reversed, but not tax measures. So recently we have been seeing that. And that is the reason basically why we have been witnessing more and more, announcements or more and more projects where public and private players are coming together, just so that government is also able to manage finances and to manage our external debt,
Mhm.
our monetary stability in the country, right?
Absolutely. You had given some very good examples as to how the government is wanting to have the private sector also become self-sufficient. Many sectors become self-sufficient and not dependent on the government. We could see the farm laws also trying to promote that because so many subsidies being given, the government also needs money. During the pandemic, it has been a completely charitable organization. The government has not
Yeah,
had so many returns. You could see the GST collection had been reduced in Q1, Q2, must have increased in Q3.
yeah,
So this was troublesome, and having a PPP model, not only it is shared between public and private, and also efficiency is something which is looked forward to, so that activities happen faster, loss is reduced, and this is something private can easily guarantee. So thank you, Varat, for those inputs. Mridul, as I was asking you, you had also given examples of the Swami Vivekananda initiative, the roads, the bridges. So, are there any different kinds of PPP models, or are all models the same kind?
There are different types of PPP models.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the example would be like build, operate, build, own, operate, transfer. Like there are different types of models. So I would like to discuss the first one is BOT, that is build, operate, transfer. A build, operate, transfer model is generally used to develop a discrete asset rather than a whole network. For example, a toll road. This simple structure provides the most freedom for the private sector partner during the construction, and the public sector bears the equity risk. Like the toll is collected from the public sector and the money is paid by the public sector only. So, and the second will be build, own, operate. This is the similar structure of BOT, but the facility is not transferred to the public sector partner. It is owned by the government, and just it is leased to the private sector. So
Got
the
it.
third type would be build, own, operate, transfer, that is known as boot. The private sector builds and owns the facility for the duration of the contract, with the primary goal of recouping construction costs during the operational phase. So the one which is being used nowadays is hybrid annuity model.
Mhm.
This is a mix of EPC and the BOT model. So in If EPC, it is engineering, procurement, and construction, which is basically that government is paying the private partner to do their work, in engineering part, and basically they are making the road construct the proper infrastructure, but they are not. They are giving the money, but no ownership will be transferred to the private sector. In BOT model, build, operate, and transfer. Basically, public, it is owned by the public, and private entity will responsible for construction, operation, and management. So they will be collecting the toll and etc. But uh, in hybrid model, the public entity finances 40%, and which is also in the form of five small investments throughout the period of the time phrase in which the work has to be done. And
All right.
as the annuity, and the private entity has to finance the remaining 60%.
That is nice. So many wonderful types and examples we have seen here. And probably there are many more. But what we can see in all these
Yes.
examples is that infrastructure, construction of highways, construction of roads, of metros, airports, that's coming into place here. So, Varad, is it that the government is only experimenting with infrastructure sector right now? And as of course, you had given the example of the COVID vaccination and the distribution also. But is there any other sector the government is having a possibility or can have a possibility of experimenting in and not just restricting to this sector?
So, a very good question once again, Akash. So, as you said, as Mridul also explained, there are various types of PPP model, which are predominantly expressed in terms of infrastructure services. We have seen the statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in Gujarat, which was built by L&T.
Okay.
It can also be called as infrastructure project. We have seen so many national highways. We have seen, most importantly, Pune Mumbai Express Highway, which I recently
Absolutely.
saw, which is maintained by IRB. We have seen so many projects, but one thing we observe here is that they are mostly infrastructure projects. And the question which comes into our mind is that does government try this kind of projects in other sectors also? So the answer is definitely yes. Public-private partnership is not just limited to infrastructure, but it extends heavily towards other sectors also. As we already see, it extends to the sector of railways, which forms once again a part of national social infrastructure. But then the industry in which the railway network falls might be quite different. It is in transport sector, right? Then we have recently come across the initial public offer of LIC, which also comes under a different sector, that is insurance sector, and other financial services, because LIC is the holding parent of so many companies such as LIC Holdings, LIC Mutual Funds, LIC. They have NBFCs also for lending purposes. We have recently come across many examples, such as government disinvesting in Air India, which is very similar to disinvestment in railways, right? The sector is same, the government is reducing its stake, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
these are some kinds of examples that government is trying to take to improve the quality, functionality, improve efficiency, we can say, then to reduce the gestation period, which many government owned projects have, right?
Right.
So definitely in recent times, government has been trying to figure out that. Other than that, we could also see, to manage the finances, government has been allowing many foreign investments to enter our country. If you have seen recently, the government has increased the percentage value of stake which a foreign entity can own in Indian insurance sectors, and many other sectors. So that also forms a foundation of our topic, that can government exercise this option in other sectors also?
So yes, so we can see the spread of the PPP model in so many places. One classic example that I can give you guys, just to add on to what you have told, Bharat, is now we all know HDFC Bank. 1956, it was under the subsidiary of RBI and was mainly for housing and development. In 1991, I suppose it became private, a private bank itself. And if the most surprising fact is 73% of its investors are FIIs, that is foreign institutional investors. But does that make it a foreign ownership bank? That is not the case. 76% is, I think, is required for it to become a foreign owned initiative. Just like that, there are many more examples, as you had told, the LIC disinvestment and many more. So of course there has been friction. We can see the example of the Bandra Worli ceiling, which was there, which took about 5 years of construction, but this would have been accomplished within 2.5 years itself. But there had been like disagreement, especially with the toll rates. As you had seen in Bandra Worli ceiling, the toll rates is still existent, which had been a case. In the second year of construction, there was disagreements. This had brought about a delay. But it is safe to say that if government sticks to a kind of BOT model, which is the safest kind of PPP, where you get in the ownership of assets is brought in by the government, and only the service, the engineering is brought in by the private. In the case of BOOT, where land leasing is also taking place, often there may be delays. Often government would want more from the private sector because it's leasing lands and all these things. But there is certainly friction, but in recent times there has been a fluent agreement. The metro railway construction is a good example, which is seeing that less disagreements between L&T and the railways is coming in here. And so of course disagreements do happen in the initial times, but now it is becoming more mature. As the times go by, it will surely become better. The PPP model will be something which is here to stay for. It's still debatable, but it is something here to stay for. So that's what I have to say. Bharat, do you have something to add here?
Definitely. As we grow towards more developed economy, the developing, we can expect more surprises by the government in case of a public-private partnership. And
That is right.
to add on, we have to head towards capitalism somewhere or the other, at some point or the other, where the government makes people able to own their money and not just the takers of the subsidies and the bailout packages. So that is what I call as the capitalism, rather than just the government is offering jobs, people are taking jobs, they're enjoying the job security, freedom. That is not capitalism. We somewhere have to make our people able to do the jobs, and for that we can expect more public private partnerships or even policy measures by government into this sector.
Valuable inputs there, Varit. Thank you so much. Now, Mridul, the next question goes for you. So what kind of risks do you think the government faces in a public-private partnership? I mean, even though it's been promoted so much by them, there's still maybe something that the government would not agree to, something they're losing out in this process, right? In the case of railways, they're losing out the monopoly by giving in more disinvestment. So are there any chances that this form of partnership can maybe break in a few years or maybe in a longer time? Easily, as we had discussed earlier, trust can be an issue. So do you think it's a reliable model for the longer term?
I think that it is a reliable model, but there are some risks, like the development, bidding, and the operating costs in PPT projects are likely to be greater than for the traditional government procurement processes. There will be more cost. The cost will be high. The government should therefore determine whether the greater cost involved are justified or not. So the cost which is private sector is paying are justified or not. A number of PPP and implementation units around the world have developed methods for analyzing these costs and looking at value for money. So basically, I think that the cost is government should think that it is justified or not, like that. There is a cost attachment to debt. While private sector can make it easier to get finance will only be available where the operating cash flows of the project company are expected to provide a return on investment.
Mhm. Good examples brought forward. As you told, the India-China partnership, Vande Bharat trains had one of the six main, like out of the first six main contributors, one was a Chinese company partnership, and which had to be broken off because of the India-China face-off here. But thank you so much
Yes,
for those
yes.
points. And so a final question, which we have reiterated a little bit before, but we'll discuss more on it. And Murad, I would like to take you with this question.
Yes.
Um, Probably the biggest public-private partnership project that takes place in any economy, that is taking place in the current Indian economy, is the railways, right? Which has been monopolized by the government for so many years. Like after its announcement in 2020, many popular Indian companies like Adani and Tata have started bidding for the cluster zones that has been opened by the Indian Railways for private operations. So could you briefly analyze this partnership, which is of Indian Railways, and mention what could be the pros and cons of getting in private players? We of course know that 73%, sorry, 57% is the only percentage of the cash we receive from the tickets of Indian Railways passengers. The rest is retained by the freight cars, the goods cars, which is operated also on the public entity by private companies. But if these lines are given to the private sector, what risk or what benefit could the government get here?
So the thing is that the government has recently been considering to privatize the railways, which, as you said, Akash, has been monopolized for almost ever since the railways have been introduced in India.
That is right.
Even after the British rule ended in 1947, effectively from 1949, the railways has been sole property of Indian government. The point here that we have to consider is that substantial part of uh, people traveling from railways is coming from rural areas, which is generally classified as low income group.
Mhm.
Next point is that the as you already said, 43% of the freight collection comes from the goods carrier, right?
Correct.
So the thing is that businesses throughout the India are relying on Indian Railways for transport of their goods throughout the country. The entry of the private sector can certainly be expected to improve the quality of the railway services. To as we see in many countries, the network of railways is much better. The customer service that they offer, then the safety measures that they are currently offering. But the thing here is that they also try to recover their contract costs. They try to recover the depreciation cost of the project over its lifetime. And eventually the burden falls on the passengers and the businesses. So it's conjunctive and not simply called as a singular effect.
Mhm.
So
Right.
privatizing railways is definitely a good idea in terms of improving the railway networks in the areas where currently Indian government cannot afford to enter into. But then somewhere the cost of these projects might fall on the rural people.
Mhm.
Here also the ray of hope uh, is that if the railway projects which are being sold out through the auction bidding to the private players, is that if these manufacturers of these industrialists are given the area which is not much you know used by the people to operate into, then we can expect that this might not affect the economy much.
Mhm.
Like if you understand, if the Tata Group is considering to lend, you know, bid for the railways for transport of their own goods and services from one place to another, then
Mhm.
this is not the loss for the Indian government. It is rather a benefit which they can incur. from railway services, right? So
That is
so
right.
that so they just be receiving royalty from the Tata Group. Railway department is only benefited. So some pros and some cons are there. Always, as I say, the benefits and uh, disadvantages of public-private partnership go hand in hand. So it happens sometimes, and recently the steps taken by government are quite futuristic, I would say, because keeping up to the same track for years and years might not help. As we know in India, currently NDA is ruling our center, which is a right-wing party, and
Mhm.
generally prefers India to be more capitalistic than socialistic. Their behavior, the nature of their ruling is that certain kind.
That is right.
So I believe these futuristic steps are definitely going to assist India in achieving its uh, goal as third largest economy of this world by 2028.
Mhm.
And then these kind of projects such as privatizing railways and many government undertakings will definitely help into that.
That is right. As I've mentioned before, Indian Railways is the lifeline of Indian economy. So if
Yeah,
the government has to take this decision, it has to be that important so that it does not affect the lifeline. So absolutely, so many good points brought forward here. And this is one last example that we can keep here is about PPP. Not only big, huge infrastructure projects, but also smaller construction has been involved in PPP. Just like the construction of Mantralaya by the Tatas has been proposed here. So just with that note, I would like to conclude we have discussed the pros and cons, and now I hope you all have a clear understanding of what the PPP model is and what the government looks forward with this model. So thank you so much,
great.
panelists. And if you like this video, please like it, please share it, subscribe it, comment what should be the next video we should prepare on. Thank you so much. Take care.
Definitely.